When you're weighing a patient on a standing scale, the standing scale has two weight bars. The bottom bar is marked off in 50-pound increments, and it goes from 0 to 350. The top bar is marked off in increments of 1 pound, goes from 0 to 50. Each pound is then subdivided into quarters of a pound. So the total weight that you could measure on this scale would be 350 plus 50 for a total of 400 pounds. Now I'm going to move to the board to give you a little bit better idea of how to read your weight bar. The top weight bar goes from 0 to 50, but I just have 0 to 5 pounds up here so you can get a clearer understanding of how it's marked off. The first long mark on the weight bar, of course, is at 0. Then you have another long mark that is not labeled. Then you have a long mark that is labeled 2, then another long mark that's not labeled, and then a long mark that's labeled 4, so on and so forth from the 0 down to the 50. Each of these long marks stands for 1 pound, and even though this one is not labeled, you know that it stands for the number 1 because it comes halfway between 0 and 2. This is like any other standard number line, where it goes from 0 to infinity in a positive direction and 0 to infinity in the negative direction. Of course, with pounds, we're just working with the positive. So this is 0, and because this comes halfway between 0 and 2, we know that this is 1. This is 2, and because this comes halfway between 2 and 4, we know that this is 3. So this will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth, up to you got to 50 pounds on your weight bar. In addition to the long marks that mark off each pound, you notice that you have shorter marks, and each short mark stands for 1/4 of a pound. So if this is 0, and we had our indicator pointed here, that would be 1/4 of a pound. The next one would be 1/2 of a pound, 2/4 or 1/2. This would be 3/4, and then it takes us to 4/4, which is another pound. This is 1, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3. And that same pattern, that exact same pattern continues to the end of the weight bar where you have your 50 pounds. On your lower weight bar, which is marked off from 0 to 350 pounds, there are no marks in between. So we have 0, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, and 350. When you weigh a patient, you're going to have them, first of all, you're going to make sure that you zero your scale. In other words, put both of your balances, this is a balance for the top, this is a balance for the bottom, you're going to put both of your balances at 0. And when you do that, your scale should, your indicator here, should be halfway between this opening, and that lets you know that your scale is balanced correctly. When you have your patient step onto the scale, kind of guesstimate what you think that they'll weigh. So if I think that someone weighs between 150 and 200 pounds, when they step up on the scale, I'm going to start by putting the bottom bar on 150. And then I'm going to, of course, there's no one standing here, so it's not going to behave as it will with someone standing on the scale. But I'm going to put the bottom bar at 150, and if they weigh more than that, my indicator will still be up like this. This will let me know that I need to add some weight. So I would begin to move my top indicator until my balance indicator came down and was level here in the middle. So let's say I have someone on the scales, and it levels where I have 50 on the bottom and I have 10 on the top. Then I take 150 and I add 10, that means that they weigh 160 pounds. The first short mark after the 10 would mean that they weighed 160 1/4 pounds. The second short mark would mean they weighed 160 1/2. The next one 160 3/4. The next one would be 161 pounds because I have 150 here, 10, and then this long mark past 10 stands for 11. Okay? and then let's say that I put them on the scale and it balances, the bottom is on 150 and the top is on 26. Then that would mean that they would weigh 176 pounds, 150 plus 26. Okay? And as I said, the maximum weight that you could get on this scale would be someone who weighed 400 pounds. If I put my bottom balance on 350 and then my top balance on 50 and it balanced there. A crucial element when you are using the standing scale is to make sure that you always put your bottom balance exactly on a number. It never goes between two numbers. So it is either on 0, it is on 50, 100, 150, and so forth. You would never put it between 150 and 200. Okay? And you can tell when it is exactly on a number because you'll feel it slide in the little groove, and this little arrow right here will be pointing to one of the numbers. Right? And we'll cover the exact steps for weighing a patient in a separate video.